Question number 84, Srimati Ramya Haridas.
On the table of the House.
माननीय मंत्री जी,
The table of the House.
माननीय सदस्य, माननीय सदस्य, माननीय मंत्री जी, नागरिक विमान मंत्री जी।
Sir, a statement has been laid on the table of the House, and I'm ready to answer any
माननीय
supplementary.
सदस्य श्री सुमेधानंद सरस्वती जी। रामा जी आप बोले ना। माननीय मंत्री,
अध्यक्ष जी,
There was a proposal from the Kerala government to construct airstrips at Wayanad, Idukki, Bakkal, Palakkad and some other tourist destination, and an airport at Sabrimala, the famous pilgrimage center. Kerala, with a high density of population and very high vehicle population, as you know, there are not enough road and rail connectivity. So whether the government of India give financial assistance to construct airstrip to connect these tourist and pilgrimage destinations.
माननीय मंत्री जी।
Yeah. Madam, Mr. Honorable Speaker, I would like to inform the honorable member that we have already operationalized 174 routes and 39 regional connectivity airports. All proposals that are received are considered. These depend on availability of land, concessions given by the state government, the central government, and we have already 100 such proposals under consideration. The details of these 100 are listed in the annex to the question that has been answered, and I would like to tell the honourable member additional proposals. We would be very happy to consider those, but as I say, the airport construction work is undertaken in a collaborative effort. Many of these are state government projects, some of them are undertaken by the Airports Authority of India, and some are private-public partnerships. In each of these cases, when an airport is established, private carriers will work out the viability in terms of the demand for traffic, in terms of the availability of other resources, and both the center and the state government give different kinds of concessions. The central government, for instance, gives a concession on aviation turbine fuel. The state government airport operators do not levy landing and parking charges. So there are a host of concessions which the state, central government and others provide. We'd be happy to consider additional proposals, but at the end of the day, they'll have to be based on viability and the assessment on whether this will generate the kind of traffic which is required.
माननीय सदस्य, माननीय सदस्य।
Supplementary question. Sir, during the World War period, there are a large number of airstrips constructed for military purpose, state like UP, Bihar, MP and many parts of India. Whether the government has any proposal to revamp these airstrips in Udan scheme?
I would like to inform the honourable member that we are looking at a very large number of unserved and underserved such strips. Several of these have been rehabilitated, and there is a presumption that many of these exist. Some of them only exist in the record books, and meanwhile there may have been other vegetation or other developments there. But more than 100 of these have been identified, and the answer to the question lists in the annexure those with the approximate dates when these could be undertaken.
सुमेधानंद सरस्वती जी।
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, माननीय मंत्री जी ने बहुत विस्तार से उत्तर दिया है। मंत्री जी का आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। मैं राजस्थान के शेखावाटी अंचल के सीकर से चुन करके आता हूं, और सीकर लोकसभा क्षेत्र एक ऐसा क्षेत्र है जिसको ओपन आर्ट गैलरी के रूप में जाना जाता है, जहां के कई शहरों को देखने के लिए, वहाँ की हवेलियों को देखने के लिए देश विदेश से अनेक यात्री आते हैं। मेरे लोकसभा क्षेत्र में खाटू श्याम जी, सालासर बालाजी, साकम्बरी और हर्षनाथ का पर्वत, ये बहुत ही ऐतिहासिक स्थान है। मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से निवेदन करना चाहता हूँ कि सैनिकों की दृष्टि से भी सीकर लोकसभा बहुत महत्वपूर्ण स्थान है। पूरी सेना का लगभग 1 लाख सैनिक हमारे 3 जिलों से ही हैं। क्या सीकर के अंदर आपका उड़ान योजना के अंतर्गत कोई हवाई पट्टी हमारी है, उसमें उड़ान योजना के अंतर्गत लेने का विचार है?
माननीय मंत्री जी।
I would like to inform the honorable member that insofar as the 100 unserved or underserved airstrips identified, we have those in Bikaner, Jaisalmer, Kishangarh, Uttarlai and Kota. And if additional demands were to be received, and these will have to come from the state government, Honorable Speaker, we would be happy to consider these, again, depending on the availability of land, availability of infrastructure, and as I said, the state government and the central government, the airports authority, we will all pool our resources to examine each of these requests.
Shri A. Raja.
Sir, my prayer is, there is a question in my name at serial number 89. I think that this question and 89 internally are connected together.
प्रश्न नंबर 89 को क्लब कर दिया जाए।
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Sir, I am having 2 questions to the Honorable Minister. Number 1, Minister submitted before the House that they are looking after the viability of the air routes. Thereafter, they are giving the permission. To my knowledge, I have come across, for instance, Coimbatore Airport. For past 10 years, Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, Dubai route. Applications were pending for past 10 years. Viability report was duly submitted by the officers after the due exercise. In spite of that, permission is not granted for the Coimbatore Airport. My larger question is, question number 89, Honorable Minister says 25,000 crore is being spent as capex, but OPEX is silent. Between the capital expenditure and the operational expenditure, between the line, the number of aircrafts, air routes are inter alia connected. I want to specific question with the Honorable Minister. If you are spending 50,000 crore and you are not able to connect the Coimbatore Airport and other airports in spite of the applications pending before the authorities, what will be your COPEX, operational expenditure? How we are going to meet when you are not at all giving permission to the aircrafts?
Sir, domestic carriers can fly between any 2 points in the country, and the state of Tamil Nadu and all the other states are connected by a very large number of flights. Insofar as foreign carriers is concerned, Indian carriers have the operational freedom to fly from any Indian airport to other airports. The issue arises about foreign carriers coming to India. That is determined by the bilateral air services agreements, and that is determined by a number of considerations, including the balance of concessions which are received and granted. Insofar as specific issues that are concerned about a particular airport, we have a large number of representations. For instance, the honorable member from Madurai, from other places, they want more foreign carriers to come. But the government, in the exercise of its options, when it looks at bilateral air services agreement, this is what has resulted in regional hubs developing. For instance, there are hubs developing in countries very close to India. They are not carrying passengers from our country, including the southern states, for those who are only visiting those hubs which are nearby. These are all passengers for onwards connections to the United States, Canada, and other places. Our policy, therefore, it has always been and is going to be to ensure that our carriers get the maximum number of passengers. For that, they will have to induct wide-bodied aircraft, etc. But we are happy, as part of the exercise of negotiating and conducting bilateral exercises, and I've already made it clear that once we reach the thresholds specified under the bilateral air services agreements, when they have utilized 100% and we are at 80% above that, we'd be willing to consider, but equitable and appropriate share must come to our airlines in the process.
Though you have explained quite a lot about this matter, I would like to ask the Minister of Civil Aviation whether it is true that the success rate of UDAN, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, or regional connectivity scheme, has been very low in the first 2 phases of its execution, and also that out of the 440 odd air routes allotted to 14 major and fledgling airlines under 2 phases, not more than 40-50 routes are operating regularly. If so, what measures are taken by the government to achieve the utmost success rate in the upcoming phases of UDANs, and also that cent% routes are operated regularly?
Madam, I would like to inform the honorable member that the facts actually are the following. 174 routes have been operationalized, connecting 39 airports under the UDAN scheme. There have been 3 rounds of bidding. It is entirely possible, as has been the experience, that a particular airline bids, an air carrier bids in one of it, and then finds it difficult to operate that. These are all private carriers. The government cannot, through an executive action, mandate a private carrier to carry out traffic between 2 points. These are private carriers. They will determine the viability, whether there is. Very often, as happens in general commerce, Mr. Speaker, sir, that somebody bids for a project, and then after having bid, they have second thoughts when they see that it's not operational, or their assessment on the kind of traffic that would be available has not been borne out by the facts. But let me assure you that yes, we do provide subsidies. As I said in response to an earlier question, both the airport operators provide support, the central government provides support, and the state governments provide support. But it is sometimes when a state government, I can give you an example, that one of the chief ministers of a state in the northeast, whom I met 2 days ago, mentioned to me that they had provided, and this is provided for and envisaged under the rules, for the carrier to be provided a viability gap funding. Now, this is exactly provided for. But it is entirely possible, I would like to tell the honorable member, after receiving all these expressions of support, after receiving an assurance that, the airport charges and other facilities and concessions will be provided, the private operator backs off, in which case we go into the second round of bidding and the third round of bidding. So the record, if I may submit, with due humility, I'm only 10 days old in the job, the UDAN scheme has done actually quite well. And in fact, you will see, and the demands that I get from honorable members, there is increasing demand, and I'm absolutely sure that the original purposes for which this scheme was established will be more than fully met.
Sudeep Bandyopadhyay ji.
Sir, my question is related to question number 89, which have been clubbed together. So modernization of airports, a list has been submitted. But I want to draw your attention, Bagdogra Airport of West Bengal is the gateway of northeastern India, the 7 sister states. Wherever you go in the northeastern region, you will have to mainly use the Bagdogra Airport. So it is one of the most important airport which is not in a good condition. Would you consider the proposal for all-out modernization of this Bagdogra Airport of West Bengal with priority?
The answer to question number 9, or priority number 9, clearly lists the development works in the kind of airports which we have already done and the expenditure which is likely to be made. We are always willing to consider additional airports, but as I said, the proposal has to come through the prescribed mode from the state government. Then we have to look at what the expenditure will be entailed and accordingly take a view. In an ideal scenario, I can tell you, and I agree with the honorable member that various points in India are entry points. If you come in from the west, you have an entry point. If you come in from the north, east, I totally appreciate the geography and the strategic value of some of these. In an ideal world in which resources are unlimited, one could think of modernizing simultaneously a large number of airfields. But as I said, when we receive the proposal for Bagdogra Airport, we would be very happy to And I've also been, I'm grateful for this, the state government has to provide land around 100 acres, and the Airports Authority has already made a plan to execute this project with 800 crores expenditure. So I think that should satisfy you. As I said, I have been updated on my facts. It's something that I value, and I'm only 10 days old in the job. But my answer remains the same for Bagdogra as indeed any other airport which an honorable member may say. It is the state government has to provide the land and We will then look at the viability, look at the funding required, then we will see how to put that package together.
क्वेश्चन नंबर 85 श्री अनिल फिरोजिया जी।
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी,
माननीय सदस्य पहले क्वेश्चन नंबर मानते जी बोलेंगे। प्रश्न संख्या
क्वेश्चन नंबर 85।
बैठ जाइए, बैठ जाए, आप बैठ जाए। माननीय मंत्री जी, माननीय मंत्री जी,
It is laid on the table of the House.
माननीय सदस्य, माननीय सदस्य।
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, मैं आपके माध्यम से माननीय मंत्री जी से ये पूछना चाहता हूँ। वैसे मंत्री जी ने पूरा जवाब तो दिया है, लेकिन मेरे प्रश्न ये था, पूरक प्रश्न ये है कि क्या देश की जनता को पुनः वायु नियम अधिनियम चालू किया जा सकता है? क्योंकि माननीय मंत्री जी ने बोला कि अधिनियम हमने समाप्त कर दिया है 1995 में, तो उसको चालू किया जा सकता है कि जिससे देश की जनता को मनमाने तरीके से वसूला जा रहा किराया उस पर लगाम लगाई जा सके।
माननीय मंत्री जी।
I would like to inform the honorable member.
माननीय सदस्य आप बैठ जाए। माननीय सदस्य आप बैठिए, मंत्री जी जवाब दे रहे हैं, आपको सप्लीमेंट्री और मिलेगा। माननीय सदस्य,
हमारी हिंदी तंग है।
माननीय सदस्य,
अंग्रेजी,
माननीय
आप हिंदी में जवाब दे दीजिए।
क्यों बोलेंगे? अच्छा, कुछ वर्ष पहले तक 1994 तक सरकार ये एयरफेयर्स तय करा करती थी, और उसके बाद एक नई नीति आई और अब ये जो प्राइवेट कैरियर्स हैं ये खुद तय करते हैं कि 2 पॉइंट्स के बीच में कितना एयरफेयर होना चाहिए। अगर हम देखें 2010 में क्या एयरफेयर्स थे और 2019 में क्या है, इसकी हमने जांच की है, तो मैं आपको जानकारी देना चाहूँगा कि जो देश के अंदर मेन ट्रंक रूट्स हैं जैसे दिल्ली मुंबई, दिल्ली कोलकाता और बाकी जगह, और वो इंटरनेशनल रूट्स भी हैं, पिछले 4 महीने का अगर हम छोड़ दें अप्रैल से लेके, क्योंकि अप्रैल में एक बड़ा कैरियर था विच सीज्ड ऑपरेशन, दाम पिछले 10 साल में बढ़े नहीं हैं। अगर दिल्ली मुंबई का एवरेज था 5,100 रुपया फेयर, वो अभी भी उतना ही है। और जो दिल्ली लंदन का, दिल्ली एम्स्टर्डम और रिटर्न का कहीं $5 बढ़ा है, कहीं कम हुआ है। पर ये जो एयरफेयर्स हैं ये सरकार तय नहीं करती है, ये एयरफेयर्स प्राइवेट कैरियर्स खुद डिटरमिन करते हैं, और हम सिर्फ यही देखते हैं कि जो एयर कैरियर है जो वो दाम तय करे वो उसको अपने वेबसाइट पे लगाए कि जो एक्चुअल एयरफेयर बीइंग चार्ज और जो वेबसाइट पे फेयर है उससे ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए। इसलिए ये आर्बिट्ररी शब्द इस्तेमाल करना, ऑनरेबल मेंबर मे हैव सम रीज़न, दिस इज़ बेस्ड ऑन मार्केट कंडीशन। अगर 4 कैरियर एक रूट में जा रहे हैं वो एक दूसरे के साथ कंपटीशन करेंगे और जो कंपेटिटिव रूट होगा, इसी कारण एयरलाइंस जो है बहुत थिन मार्जिन्स पे ऑपरेट करती हैं और उनकी और समस्याएं होती हैं।
माननीय सदस्य कोई सप्लीमेंट्री हो तो पूछे, नहीं हो तो जरूरत नहीं।
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, मैं आपके माध्यम से माननीय मंत्री जी से ये निवेदन करना चाह रहा हूँ कि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की भी मंशा है कि आम आदमी को भी हवाई यात्राओं का लाभ मिले, तो क्या सरकार इसके लिए कुछ कदम उठाएगी? धन्यवाद।
माननीय मंत्री जी, माननीय मंत्री जी, दाम कम करने के लिए, रेट कम करने के लिए कोई सरकार कदम उठाएगी?
देखिए, मैं तो आपको ऑनरेबल मेंबर को यही विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं कि हमारी हमेशा यही कोशिश रहती है कि जो कंज्यूमर है, हमारे नागरिक हैं, उनको जितना कम एयरफेयर पे ट्रैवल करने की सुविधा दी जाए उतनी अच्छी है। पर मैं आपको ये कहना चाहता हूँ, पिछले 20 साल से मैंने कल शाम को अपने अधिकारियों के साथ बैठ के हमने कंपेयर किया कि 2019 के जो फेयर हैं और पिछले 1 साल के साथ लेके पिछले 10 साल और पिछले उससे पहले 20 साल के कंपेयर किए हैं, तो बाकी कॉस्ट ऑफ लिविंग बढ़ता जा रहा है पर एयरफेयर जो है खास बड़ा नहीं है। इसलिए प्रधानमंत्री जी की जो ड्रीम है, जो उन्होंने कहा है कि हवाई चप्पल से हवाई जहाज का, हम पूरा उसका we will support that and we will operationalize it.
दिलीप साकिया जी, दिलीप साकिया जी।
अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं आपका आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ कि आपने मुझे प्रश्न संख्या 85 में बोलने का अवसर प्रदान किया है। अभी माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का जो सपना है सबको हाई उड़ानों में उनको भागीदारी बनाए। मैं उड़ान जो योजना भारत सरकार चला रही है उसमें नॉर्थ ईस्ट का तो काफ़ी लाभ पहुँचा है, लेकिन जितना लाभ मिलना चाहिए उतना लाभ तो अभी नहीं मिल रहा है। मेरा मंत्री जी से प्रश्न है कि मार्च 1994 में वायु निगम अधिनियम के निरस्त किए जाने के बाद से प्राइवेट हवाई कंपनियों की प्रतिस्पर्धा के कारण हवाई किराया लगातार बढ़ रहा है। जैसा कि माननीय मंत्री जी ने,
माननीय सदस्य सवाल पूछें सीधा।
मेरा माननीय मंत्री जी से आग्रह है कि क्या सरकार इस प्रकार की कोई प्रणाली अथवा नीति लाने पर विचार कर रही है जिससे कि सभी ऋतु पर सरकार द्वारा हवाई कंपनियों के खर्च के आधार पर किराया सुनिश्चित किया जाए, ऐसा कि भारतीय रेलवे करता है। और अगर कोई भी कंपनी तय किराए से ऊपर किराया वसूलती है तो उस पर सख्त कानून का प्रावधान तय हो सके, जिससे इस प्रतिस्पर्धात्मक बाजार में भी उपभोक्ताओं का पूर्ण रूप से ध्यान रखा जा सके। मैं अभी 21 तारीख को
अच्छा एक क्वेश्चन आपका। अच्छा मंत्री जी, मंत्री जी प्लीज बैठिए।
Honorable Speaker, I would like to inform the honorable member that the two situations are not analogous. Indian Railways is a public sector service provider, whereas the airlines here are operating in the private sector, number one. Number two, my officials in the DGCA sit every month with the airlines and review the airfares being charged. And I can assure the honorable member that those discussions invariably result not only in effective monitoring, and that airfares, except for the last 3 months, because in April this year, one large carrier ceased operation. There was a spurt in airfares, but it has come back to normal. Today, we have, when that air carrier ceased operation, there were 540 aircraft flying. Today, Honorable Speaker, we have more than 560 in the air. We are adding 20 every month. And as we transit from our present situation to a $5 trillion economy, as the per capita incomes increase, the demand for air travel will increase, and air travel has been increasing at something like 16–17% per year. I expect this growth to take place, and airfares will also benefit, and the consumer will benefit.
Shri Pinaki Mishra ji.
Deeply grateful, Honorable Speaker, sir. This is a very important issue. 2 years back, when the Delhi-Chandigarh route was shut down, the highway was shut down because of riots. Fares went up on a 30-minute flight by up to 90,000 rupees. This was in this thing. Recently, Orissa phony cyclone hit. Fares went up to 65,000. The Honorable Minister is a dynamic Minister. You hold very important charge. Kindly consider in these peril times, there should be an imperiled route where for a week, a fortnight, there should be a higher bandwidth beyond which you can't charge. There cannot be unconscionable private profiteering during difficult times.
Well, I would like to respond to the very specific and a very necessary question that the honorable member has asked. Airlines, Honorable Speaker, set their fares in different segments. There are segments, for instance, where the lowest fare is 5,000 rupees and the higher fare is 45,000 rupees. Now, invariably what happens that if you're following the Apex system, you will have a situation people will buy the 5,000 fare in advance. Now, in the kind of sui generis or, the kind of situation which the honorable member mentioned, where there is, let's say, a civil disturbance on the ground and there is only a limited amount of flight, then there is suddenly a demand for those seats, and because the segments have been utilized, people will go and buy the most expensive seat. Whether that is profiteering or is provided for under the system. But what I will tell the honorable member, now Can I I am not, and if you would, I am not justifying anything. I am first trying to explain the system as it operates. Then I'm going to tell you what we can do. I'm going to tell you what we can do.
Rajiv.
I can explain to the honorable members, and especially those from across the bench, if they were to just curb their enthusiasm, we can always find a way out of the most difficult situation. We can sit down with the carriers and tell them that in specific situations where there is like a cyclone or some other natural calamity, or there is a man-made situation, if you would allow me to complete, I might actually be able to satisfy you, and I might be able to give you what you're asking for. But you know, if disruption, I'm quite happy. I let me complete. आप ऐसा है, Mr.
राजीव प्रताप रूडी, माननीय मंत्री जी,
I can if you were to fix a ceiling, my apprehension is that instead of the lowest fares being done by the marketplace, what will happen? आपका दूसरा question है. But let me complete this. If you fix, like I have an apprehension that what these my honorable friends are asking for will be totally counterproductive. You will end up paying higher fares, because if you fix a cap, if you fix a higher ceiling, people will not take advantage of the lower ones. They will go for the higher fares, and it is like you counterproductive. You will end up paying the higher fares. So best of luck. If instead of, there is always a tendency, if you fix a higher ceiling, people will go for the higher ceiling. So my view is,
माननीय राजीव प्रताप रूडी,
माननीय सदस्य जो विषय उठा रहे हैं, ये
माननीय राजीव प्रताप रूडी,
माननीय सदस्य जो विषय उठा,
आप उनको संबोधित मत करो, आप प्रश्न पूछो माननीय मंत्री जी से, आप सीधा मंत्री जी।
सर, जो इसी प्रकार के शोर शराबे में अध्यक्ष महोदय पहले भी सरकार ने उत्तर दिया था, और जो प्रश्न में उत्तर दिया गया है इसमें ब्रैकेट की चर्चा की है, इसमें ब्रैकेट की चर्चा की गई है, और मूलतः ये बात बिल्कुल सही है कि हवाई कंपनियां अपने हिसाब से अपना दाम रखती हैं, और जो ये चर्चा आया और जो ये उत्तर है, ये इस तरह से इसकी चर्चा पूरी नहीं की जा सकती है महोदय। ये अपने आप में एक बड़ा विषय है। जब अब भारतवर्ष में जहां कंपाउंडेड ग्रोथ रेट माननीय मंत्री जी 10% है, और दूसरी तरफ एक एयरलाइन जिसकी कैपेसिटी मार्केट में 20% था, और क्योंकि क्षमा कीजिए 2003 में जब ये नीति लो कॉस्ट एयरलाइन का लाया गया, तो उस समय उस सरकार का मैं मंत्री था, और ये नीति लाया गया जो उस समय से बढ़कर के आज हम यहाँ तक पहुँचे हैं। मंत्री जी जो जवाब दे रहे हैं, इसी प्रकार के हल्ला गुल्ला में DGCA ने ये रास्ता बताया जो अपने में विवादहीन है, विवादपूर्ण है, क्योंकि जो ब्रैकेट बनाना है, एयरलाइन 10,000 रुपया से लेके 50,000 रुपया तक रखेगी, और उस ब्रैकेट में आने के बाद आज सबसे बड़ा विषय है, अगर 20% मार्केट शेयर का कोई विमान कंपनी बंद हो जाएगा, तो स्वाभाविक रूप से जो दूसरी जितनी एयरलाइंस है वो पैसा बनाना शुरू कर देंगी। और जब माननीय मंत्री जी एयर इंडिया को नहीं कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं कि वो अपना दाम कम करे, तो भला दूसरे एयरलाइंस को कैसे कर? इसलिए नीतिगत रूप से ये गलत है।
प्रश्नकाल समाप्त।